Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Eggs, the podcast. Today's special guest is Anya Cheng. She's founder and CEO at Taelor. Anya, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. Hello. This is Anya from Taelor here in Silicon Valley. Before starting a company, I have 15 years in big tech companies before, helped Meta to launch Facebook shopping, helped McDonald's launch the food delivery business when Uber Eats just started, and helped Target to build its tech office here in Silicon Valley. And now I'm running an AI company called Taelor. We use AI to pick clothes for busy men and help to save the environment, and excited to share more.
Can you maybe break down your experience with Facebook and Meta and those larger companies? That's a pretty big claim to work with those companies. I'm sure you have a really interesting story behind that. How'd you get started with them, and what brought you to Silicon Valley?
Yeah, it's actually an interesting story. I was in Chicago before, studied there for Northwestern University, getting my master's degree in marketing, and then got my MBA from University of Chicago. I worked there for 8 years and was at work for Sears. And at that time, I was very into working in Silicon Valley because I led tech teams. So working in the Bay Area is like a lot of people's dream. So I applied for and Target reached out to me and they say, hey, we got a job in Minnesota. This is a job that kind of one level up from your job because you will lead a global team versus you are individual contributors before. So, but this job is in Minnesota and you will be able to work with one of the best retailers. So I said yes. And I researched on the housings in Minnesota. I found those heated garage, it's really cold over there. And I keep telling them that, but my dream is to work in Silicon Valley. So one day, if you have this opportunity, you let me know. And just right before I start a job, they say, hey, Anya, you're supposed to start next week, but your boss's position was open. And now we found the guy. And the guy actually lived in Silicon Valley, and the guy didn't want to move to the Minnesota. So now you can actually work with him and live in Silicon Valley. Would you like to move there? And that's how I end up got this opportunity and moved to Silicon Valley.
That's great. So, not to point out the obvious, but you have an accent. Are you born and raised in America, or did you come from a foreign country to America to start business?
Yeah, I'm originally from Taiwan, have been in the US for 18 years. Came here without knowing anyone and went to Northwestern University to get my master's degree. And 10 years ago, since the Target job, I moved to Silicon Valley. And Meta, you mentioned earlier, I helped to build the Facebook, Instagram shoppings. So if people buy something there on Facebook, on Instagram, the feature was led by my team before.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, like, as a young person growing up in Taiwan, what is the business culture like? Like, was it, a lot of people come to America because we're very entrepreneurial. It's sort of the attitude of the American people. But what is it like growing up in Taiwan? I mean, I think it's very similar, at least in terms of business. We've had other people from the area, from Taiwan and Hong Kong, who've come and talked to us about things. But can you what was it like growing up and making the decision to leave your family and come to the United States to study?
Yeah, so I was more of a troublemaker over there. I was a kid in the class that I would constantly raise my hand and ask questions, which wasn't encouraged in Taiwan, at least 20 years ago when I was a kid. So I was usually the troublemaker, but luckily Taiwan was also very score oriented. Like when I was a kid, as long as you are number one in the class in terms of scoring, then you at least won't be too much of a trouble. So I was more of the in between. I keep raising my hand, asking questions, and the teachers or professor were trying to shut me up. While on the other hand, I will always constantly score perfect, in the class. I was in high school. Surprised or not, but at that time in Taiwan was more conservative. Most of people are not allowed to create clubs. There's a set of the clubs that everyone's supposed to pick one and participate. And so I went to the principal's office. I told them I have this idea. I want to launch a new club. They said it's not allowed. But if you don't believe, you can go check with school handbooks. So I went to the library. I found a handbook, which probably no one ever read it. And I found that there is a chapter say you can actually start a club as long as you start a petitions. and you have few hundred people in the class, or give them their name and sign their signature. So I went to class by class, and I talk about my idea of these marketing and communication clubs and why this is so important. We have this new club. And then eventually I got like 500 people's signature, and I created this club. So at that time, the principal even called my mom, say, Anya's in big troubles. You have to stop her. She might be kicked out from the school. So I always thought that I was not always fit in, and until I came to the US. And the reason I came to US was I worked for a newspaper company back in Taiwan called Apple Daily. And at that time, Apple Daily is the largest media company back in Taiwan and Hong Kong, which means that everybody know about Apple Daily, and a lot less people know about Apple computer at that time. So someone asked me like, oh, where do you work? I was so proud, and I said, Apple. And the person said, oh, okay, cool. I know you guys make good computer. I was so embarrassed. I realized my world was so small, was a tiny bit of the Taiwan focus view. And so there was a time that I decided I should come to the US and see different part of the world. And I applied for 18 schools, like top 100 schools in the US, everyone with marketing and communication degree, and which ranked number 1 to 18. And surprisingly, I got rejected by number 4 to 18, and I got in number 1, 2, and 3. And the number 1 was Northwestern University, and that's why I'm here.
That's a really interesting story. So you went to Northwestern, you studied marketing, and you ended up in Silicon Valley. You started working with Meta after Target. Did I follow that correctly? Target brought you to Silicon Valley. You got in with Meta and Instagram, and you created their selling platform on Instagram with a team. Is that correct? Can you tell us about that process of starting that side of the shopping side of Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah. So after Target, I actually worked for McDonald's and help them to do the same thing, build out the new office in Silicon Valley, help them to build out food delivery business globally when Uber Eats just started as a senior director. And then I joined eBay. At that time, eBay was looking for someone with Latin America and Africa, Asia experience, which is weird because I am a Taiwanese, but I led Latin America and Africa in eBay because at McDonald's, I had those experience as a global product person. So, when Facebook came to me, Facebook said they were looking for someone who also have the Africa experience, because at that time it was a connectivity team. They were looking for someone to help them to build up the internet to countries don't have internet in Africa, and they are looking for someone with Africa experience. So very weird as Taiwanese Americans in the US, and now I joined Facebook and help them on connectivity. And then very soon, not too long, within a year, they realized they really want to do the shopping stuff as Amazon continue to grow. So they are looking for someone internally who have shopping experience, and they see my backgrounds in the eBays and Target, Sears, etc. So then they moved me to the team. Starting on the Facebook shoppings, it was something that they really think that for social media, at that time, people really hated on the data thing. People feel like Facebook got so much of our data, and internally they feel like, hey, it's Google also has similar amount of data, but people complain a lot less to Google. And I believe one of the reasons was because it's very transactional. When you need Google Map, then you don't mind giving your locations. You need Gmail, you don't mind telling them a little bit more about stuff. But social, people feel a lot more conscious. And also at that time, naturally, people are doing a lot of buying and selling in Facebook groups, right? So they feel like this is a natural transition from a company become a lot more on the shopping focus. And then that's why they were looking for someone to help on doing the company transition for the future.
Yeah, no, that's, it's really exciting too. And if you think about the time or the era that you were doing this, this is obviously early in online shopping. I think a lot of us are taking for granted, what's available in Instagram or Facebook Marketplace and these different places where you can buy and sell online now. But there was a time when none of that existed. So it's really exciting that you were, working with those people. And I guess maybe it was your expertise that you picked up along the way, and obviously your expertise in retail. But how did you, from being a marketing and communications major, I mean, this is obviously, very technical work, and I'm sure you weren't doing the programming yourself or whatever, but you're running technical teams and you're teaching people how to implement, strategies across the technical implementation. So how did you sort of bridge the gap as a marketer to somebody working with technical teams to make sure that you could accomplish the goals you were trying to reach?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's also kind of what sparked me to start this company. But as a career growth, just like not every CEO does everything in the companies, right? So I was a marketer, and then I became more focused on data scientist side of house, because realized what kind of advertising works best. The one with data. So personalized advertising works best. So then I became a data scientist and building out my expertise in the personalization space. And then the product team, the website side, say, "Yay, you get all of the ad personalized. Can you help our website and app all personalized as well?" So then I joined the product team, became product managers. And then when I joined Target, I became product manager's boss, become head of product, and start leading engineer and designers. And then continue my career as a head of product. I start leading more software engineers, data engineers, AI engineers, and lead the entire profit and loss of e-commerce departments. And actually, when I was working for Meta and eBay, I do feel imposter syndrome. I'm an immigrant. I'm a woman with a color. I didn't come from engineering background. I do lead technology teams. So I want to look great. I feel like at least I can dress up so people cannot tell that I'm freaking out. So I look some options out there, such as Stitch Fix. There are a lot of subscription boxes that you have to buy before you can wear. So those they provide styling service, but you have to buy, and I didn't want to own that much stuff. So I tried some rental company, like Rent the Runway, Newly, More. Those were amazing. That you can rent thousands of garments, but you have to browsing through all of them and pick your own. And it was an aha moment for me that I realized fashion company seems designed for people who are into fashion. Not for people like me. I just want to get ready for the day and be successful. So I started doing research, like who else think like me? Hate shopping, hate laundry, but they need to look good. They socially active. They need to look good for job, for dates. Turn out that they are busy men. Single guy, sales guy, recruiters, pastor, professors, podcasters, people who need to look good but not very into fashion and doesn't want to spend time chasing after fashion and clothes and GQ. And that's why Taylor was born.
So can you tell us a little bit about Taylor? From what I'm looking at the website, it looks like you're kind of a subscription-based model that will send you clothing based on your likes. And is it like a weekly, monthly kind of deal? How does it work?
Yeah, it's actually a rental subscription business, which is you can say $100, you can get to wear 10 clothes per month, and you don't have to do any picking. Our AI will pick the perfect outfit to make you stand out. Our human professional stylists will double check before sending out to the customer, so you're always perfect. And after that, you get the clothes, real clothes that you can wear for a couple weeks. You don't have to buy. You can just wear them for a couple of weeks and return everything, or return some of the stuff and then keep what you love. And whatever you love is secondhand. It's still like new, but it's like still a lot cheaper than retail because secondhand. So you are doing good for the environment, support sustainability, and the rest stuff you return and then you get next shipments. So no more shopping or laundry. It's a little bit like your dry clean. It just every time you pick up, it's different things, and that what you pick up is what's already paired and perfect for your upcoming schedule.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really clever idea, and especially for, people in technology, and the example you gave of your own life experience is really interesting, because I think there are a lot of people that kind of, there's this old saying, this idea, dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. Right. And I think a lot of people, either don't know what they're doing, or they select clothing that maybe already have in their closet, things like that, that are, maybe not great, but it's the best they have, or, they're not sure what to wear. So they just kind of cobble something together. And I think having some assistance or professional styling is not the kind of thing that your average, single guy or, salesperson, business owner, or whatever actually stops and thinks about. For a lot of people, they're just not that into it. They just know they maybe need something to look good in a meeting or whatever. So if they're at all like me, then they're scrambling in the last minute to go buy a polo or something so that they don't look like a total bum in a meeting. And so I think
I'll just look like a total bum. I'm okay with it.
Well, that's why you're in your business. That's why you work in the audio engineering business, because they don't have to dress up for that. So, and that's why I wear black exclusively, is because art directors don't have to wear anything but black. So, but I can empathize with this, at least to some extent, because there are a few things I've done over the years where I needed to dress up or where I needed to have, some nicer clothing and things like that. And I just don't have it. And, to have something like this, I don't really know how to dress myself in a nice way. And so a service like this, is really appealing to me, even though I maybe don't need it all the time. When I do need it, something like this would be amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of our customers, they actually only wear the same thing again in the last 10 years. They have only 5 brands in their closet: Uniqlo, Facebook, the Uniqlo, Banana Republics, and few like Nike and Lululemons. So a lot of them or customers will say, I will only, they open their closet, there's only blues over there, there's no other color. And so they really appreciate that they can try something new, because it's rental, a little bit like your Netflix show. If you will go to buy a DVD, you want to make sure your DVD you watch 5 times in the next 2 years. You perfect. That's perfect. But Netflix show, you watch for 3 minutes. If you don't like it, move on and try next show. So it's a bit like the beauty of rental. Our customers say, oh, I never actually tried polo. Okay, let me give it a try. I never tried linen. Okay, I'll give you a try. I never tried hoodie. Let me give you a try. And then they get a chance to wear over 300 different brands, and the stylist already paired for them. So she always looks pretty good. And at the same time, they can explore new style and then support the sustainability. Because today, 30% of clothes go directly from factory to landfill. And it creates 10% of carbon emission, 20% of polluted water in the world. Fashion is the most polluted industry in the world. And today, most of the clothes will actually get shipped to Africa, put all of it in the mountains, and then got burned out. So instead of burning those clothes, now we find a new home and by pair them with customer, but also we provide feedback, because the customer is subscription. So they give feedback right away. And then we give the feedback back to the brand and manufacturer, so then they can stop producing junk, make sure their next collection is better.
Yeah. Can you tell us about the AI side of your site? How does it work as far as like picking clothes for the customer? Am I going to log in, subscribe, and say, hey, these are the colors I like, this is the type of shirt I like, and so on and so forth, and it kind of just rolls the dice and guesses for me? Or how does that work?
Yeah, we ask people for the high-end way, which we don't use a lot. Most of the guys think they are taller and thinner. So we also ask them, like, go to your closet and pick your perfect outfit and tell me more about the brand and the size. And also tell me more about the fit issues you have. Oh, I'm usually too tight in my belly. Usually the pants is too short. By having those informations, we pretty much can know what the customer's true size. We also ask them their favorite brands, but we also ask a lot other questions, which brand that you shop at, because what's your favorite brand? The guy might say it's Louis Vuitton, and we ask you, where do you usually shop? I usually shop at Costco. So we will also ask all kinds of different questions, really understand their preference, the style. We also have different pictures they can dislike, and then it kind of the Tinder view get us into what the customers really want. And the customer can also book 15 minutes free consultation call if they want with our human stylist. So in that call, you can share about your points of view, open your closet. Some people say, hey, I'm a furniture designer. This is my collection. Can you match something of my personal brand? Some people say, this is my wife's closet. I just want to have something that can pair with my wife on the day night perfectly. Some people say, this is my clothes before, but I don't want something like this. I want to try something new. Can you, not too far away from my style, but that make me feel that I can try something different. So different people have different points of view, but in that conversation, they can share that. They can upload some pictures or upload pictures of sport athlete they like. And then from there, we know what's the perfect for them. We send them 5 items in a box. They wear for a couple of weeks. If they don't like something, they let us know. If they do, they can buy or just wear for 2 weeks and get new ones.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of these things. So for the longest time, I mean, my whole life really, I've always worked behind a computer, things like that. So it's always, black T-shirt and a pair of jeans and my Chuck Taylors, and that's pretty much it. And for the longest time, like I'm a kind of a bigger guy, and so for me, I always wore like big baggy T-shirts and things like that to like try and cover up, and so just out of insecurity, I would wear like a 3X shirt, even though I'm really like an XL or a double X. And so, but I would always wear way bigger than I needed maybe. And I also wore, baggy jeans and all that kind of stuff. And at some point, I was at like one of these places, like a Men's Warehouse or something, and I was trying to get some nicer clothes for a trip I was going on. And they put me in it's still just a black T-shirt, but it's a kind of a cut shirt. Like it actually has a style versus, like just sort of a box T-shirt that you would get at a store, right? And I found that even though I carry a little extra weight and felt really insecure, and so I was covering myself up in these really baggy clothes, that I actually look better in clothes that are sort of tailored or made to fit my body a little better. And then that same journey, I sort of proceeded into pants that fit a little better, and they fit more like the way pants are supposed to fit, instead of hanging off my butt and super long and baggy and all this stuff. And so by just switching those up, like I just went from black shirt and jeans to black shirt and jeans, but I went to nicer black shirt and jeans, or to black shirt and jeans that was cut a little bit more for my shape. And I found that just that little bit of elevation, went a long way for me personally in terms of feeling better about myself, but also I think looking better in the clothes I wear. And that's helped me in terms of just feeling more secure as a person and not being so insecure about my height and weight and things like that. And I don't think that most people stop and think about those kinds of things, and how just a little change like that, even though I didn't really change my style, but by just doing it the right way or having somebody tell me what I was doing wrong, really elevated sort of my appearance or my style overall. And so I think that that's, very cool thing that you guys offer in having, not just AI, but also having the human touch there, because I think it's really important that you have sort of somebody you can talk to about this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Our customers were really treat us more like executive assistants. So what we found was our customers is not just buying clothes, it's really buying a peace of mind. And they feel ready for their day and confidence. And so they constantly ask us like, hey, do you sell shoes, accessories, belts and other stuff? And can you tell me where to get my haircut? Which hairstyle do you think fits? And our customer even asks us, do you sell Valentine's Day gift and Mother's Day flowers? So they really think that we are more of like concierge, their butler. They are here to save time and give the peace of mind and feel ready for their day. And that's where my original intention to start a company. I think everyone should need to focus on what they are really good at. They shouldn't be worried about other stuff that is not really about their professional or social life. Like when they're going on a date, they should only focus on the date versus worry about what am I wearing. Or when they're going on a date, their shorts should be helping them as a conversation starter. Wow, this is interesting shirt that you with really interesting fish on the shirt. It should be about conversation starter. Last week I was on another show, and the podcaster said when he goes to important conference, he always wear a pink jacket. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, because it's a conversation starter. Everyone will come to me and comments on the jacket, and then the icebreaker, and then from there the conversation started. So I truly believe that you should be helping, just like in a movie. You see, always there's another the best friend, a gay friend, or whoever want pat on your back and before you go out the door, or the gadget guy, right? Superhero all have the gadget guy behind them and help them say, okay, boss, you are ready to go. Be careful, right? There should be someone there in our life helping us. And that's where I think Taylor can help.
Yeah,
Can you talk about the logistics behind Taylor, getting us started, finding the clothing to begin with? where you source the clothing, and in like the mailing, just sending it out, sending it back, cleaning it, getting it ready for the next person. That's a whole lot of work. Can you maybe just talk about the logistics behind the scene?
Yeah, sure. We use USPS for shippings, but we are also exploring other options at the same time. So it's pretty straightforward on the shipping. It's just like any e-commerce companies. Our business is three part. We do have the typical e-commerce part, but we also have styling side of the house. And because the e-commerce part is the same as the sourcing inventory, etc. The key difference is that we do revenue share. We don't own all of the clothes. Why? Because different from the consignment deal, which brands usually afraid that if I put in a store and wait for 6 months and no one ever buy the stuff, you return to me, that's a big problem. But they are not afraid when it comes to Tailor because we are rental. So as soon as the clothes arrive in our warehouse, we start renting and we start making money and we start doing revenue share. So it's almost the book in the library. The book is not going to sit there and someone is going to rent them. And then in our model, even better because we pick the clothes. So it's guarantee 100% utilization rate. And also because we are membership program, so we know members before we source the inventory. Right. So we already know this is Mike, and Mike's means need this because he's a voice engineer. So then we actually find the brand and size that's perfectly for Mike. And of course, you share with other people. So we work with brands, 300 brands, most of them in the US, but we also source amazing brand from all over the world. The male may not be very well known in the US yet. For example, the best Italian brand, the best Japanese brand, the best Taiwan brands, and they may not be available in the US yet. So then people can wear those brands and without traveling around, but they are also high quality and already done very good jobs in different parts of the world. And then besides the e-commerce side of sourcing, we also have AI styling, which is using the technology and then getting feedback from the customers. We work with over 300 brands, so they know the future trends. And typical AI only know the past, doesn't know the future, right? But now with working with a brand who are designing the trend 2 years down the road, we know those future information. We also is a rental, so we know the true quality of a garment. These are all unique data that no one else has fit into our AI. And then last part is the laundry. So right now we're doing laundry in-house, but over time we might outsource to other laundry company.
Okay. I wondered too if we could maybe talk, and maybe it comes before this step actually, but I appreciate you breaking down the business that way. So, I mean, you came from Target, you came from eBay, you came from Meta. I mean, obviously you have some experience in retail, but to pivot into apparel, where you're actually sourcing garments and doing all these sorts of things. I mean, that it sounds like the kind of work you would expect from somebody who's already working in fashion, for example. Like maybe you already, work for a fashion brand. So how did you get into, in the early days of Tailor and you decided, hey, I want to do this business, how did you start finding companies to work with in the first place? How did you know how to price apparel, all these kinds of things? Because there's so much about just fashion to know. I just got back from Los Angeles. I stay with a friend of mine when I'm out there who works for one of these big fashion brands, a big denim company. And, so I'm listening to him talk, and like his depth of knowledge on fashion and clothing is very, very deep. And so it's like, there's clearly a lot to learn there. Right. So, I mean, even though you already had a handle on the tech play, how did you start to wrap your head around just sort of the actual business of fashion?
Yeah, sure. So I do have a co-founder. Her name is Phoebe. We met at University of Chicago more than 10 years ago. So she has big passion for fashion. We also hire people from Stitch Fix, Victoria's Secrets, Pumas, and Gaps, etc. However, how do I get our first supplier? So 2 years ago, I went to tech. We were just have an idea at the time. So I went to TechCrunch and I was thinking that, hey, it would be great to get on news. So then people will reach out to us. So then I wasn't able to get into the newsroom. So I wait outside. And as soon as a reporter came out of the newsrooms, then I say, hey, hello, this is Anya. We just have this new idea for startup and this is what we want to do. Would you be interested in the story? And a reporter who worked for WWD, which is a trade publication in the fashion industry. So we had a conversation. After that, we follow up. I follow up again. And she said, please stop emailing me. I'm not interested in the story. A month after, she emailed me back and she said, I'm still not interested in the story, but my colleague, he is interested in the story. You can talk to him. So I talked to him. It was an amazing conversation. Everything was perfect. A month after, 2 months after, nothing happened. Follow again. He said, okay, the manager doesn't like the story. It's not going to be published. So a few months after, we went on startup competitions. We won the West Coast Championship. We were ready to compete for the global final for $100,000 in Chicago. And the competition was hosted by University of Chicago. But at that time, besides I'm an alumni there, but I also teach at Northwestern University. So I thought that's an interesting story. Northwestern faculty might win the University of Chicago champions. So obviously no one cared about this news, but the schools thing. So then I reached out to the Northwestern University schools campus, like the newspaper, and I say, hey, this could be an interesting story. And the school newspaper say, okay, yeah, sounds like an interesting story. Then publish a story. After that, local ABC News actually pick up the story and we were on ABC. So I took these ABC News clips and I sent to the WWD, the trade publication. I say, hey, ABC News just came out. Do you want to use this to convince your boss? This is a great story, which you already have the article ready to go. And then next day, the article came out. And from there was a brand in Canada. They saw the news. They reached out to us, asked us to be our supplier, and became our first supplier. So with first supplier, second supplier, now we have 300 brands on the platform.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. It's interesting to hear the backstory of how things come about, how that story and that article kind of opened doors for you. It's always the small things you don't think make a difference that actually do.
Yeah, and I just kind of wanted to point out a couple things too that I took from that. First of all, is the perseverance, right? I think that's a character trait that's common in entrepreneurs, that kind of willing to keep fighting and keep fighting and keep fighting. But the fact that you had this idea and you believed so much in it that you fought and fought and fought until you were able to finally get an article published and get the attention of the people you were trying to reach is huge. I guess also the insight there. So when you were pitching this, like at startup events and things like that, I guess in my head, I always had this notion that if you're going to pitch a startup, like you needed to have the startup, like you needed to have, some infrastructure in place or something, but you're pitching and winning with just the concept. So I think that's kind of an interesting idea too, because there are a lot of people, I think, who have ideas or a notion of something that might make a great business, but they sort of just stop there. And I think maybe people think like I do, which was that maybe you have to have more infrastructure already if you're going to go pitch it. So I love you sharing that story. That was amazing.
Yeah, when we started, actually, kind of how we got our first customer. At that time, we were only store ideas. So we launched a landing page on Shopify. We paid $10, and the page was just explain about the business with an email box. Say, if you're interested, put your email here. And it was right before Thanksgiving, and there was a guy called Michael. He emailed me. He said, hey, I have been on the wait list for a couple of weeks. Can you please bump me up? I ignored it because I thought it was a scam. Like we would just have idea who were really so eager to get on our service. A month after, right before Christmas, someone called me. Hi, I'm Michael. I'm a real estate agent in San Diego. I really like the brochure. I've been on the wait list for a month and a half. Can you please bump me up? I'm sure you guys are really popular. What? I realized it was a real person. It's a real estate agent in San Diego who are waiting on our service. So then we went to the department store. It was doing Christmas sale. We bought a whole bunch of stuff that's on sale. We went to post office, put the clothes into the boxes, and we shipped to Michael. And Michael became our first customer. And from there, we get on the wait list, have over 100 people. We style these 100 people manually. We start learning on what they need. Oh, we need a real website. We need clothing. I think one day we probably need AI because otherwise it's too hard to style everybody. And we start putting together a business plan based on the learning of testing these 100 people. And then we start fundraising, and we reach out to another founder. In the conversation, I forgot that I was trying to ask him for a referral for the investor. The founder was doing some AI camera in security space. So I was so interested in the business. I refer a whole bunch of customers to him, from like police officer of my work in Africa, like a bodyguard in Africa, etc. So a few weeks after, he circled back to me and said, "Hey, Anya, thank you so much for those amazing leads. By the way, why did you reach out to me? Were you trying to ask me for something? How can I help?" Yeah. I was trying to ask you for the investor connections. So he made introduction to the investor. In half an hour conversation with the investor, we got $1 million. So sometimes opportunities there when you are not looking for.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's a really great story. And I think it's a good reminder for people too. We've had a lot of people on the show to talk about fundraising and how to raise and when to raise and not to raise. How come you decided that venture was the way to go for you guys?
We actually don't know. We were at that time our first time raising. We know we need investor. We have no clue what's the difference between the ventures, angels, and or the family office or angel clubs or what. So we didn't know. However, because in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, most of the companies were VC backed, and so we were really lucky to meet with Berlin Capital. They are founded by the early employee of Google and Facebook's, and also they invested over 10 unicorn. And so we started as a venture-backed company and continue grow 10 times year over year. And so we continue having a new VC, like Goodwater Capital now became our second VC for these rounds. So we didn't know until we started. I would say for people who haven't had decided yet, you should think about if you are will be 10x to 50x growth company in 5 to 7 years. If so, then VC back is the way to go because it was meant to be growing really fast. You own very little for the company, but the company is so big that even if you own little, it's still quite profitable and it's a good outcome. Or if you want to be more lifestyle business, you may not have any investor, but it's profitable from the second years of the company. So even if you only have 10% margin, but it's 100% owned by you, so it's still very, very good. And you don't have to listen to anybody. You don't have to trying to get 10x growth year over year and working very, very hard. But you are okay with just smaller business while the total profitability might still be equal when you compare to VC-backed company because you own 100%. So I think you should ask yourself what kind of business you want, but also look at your own business. Is really a VC-backed business? Can it grow 50x in 5 to 7 years? And if you look at Google, they grow 18,000 times return in 5 to 7 years. So VC back is going to aim for really, really high return and in a very, very short period of time.
So when you raised your venture capital, I think you said you raised $1 million. Were you specifically looking for the money, or were you looking for the help that comes along with some investors and some people that are getting involved in the project actually have project domain? They understand the industry. They understand, like on Shark Tank, for example, you get everyone coming up, they're pitching certain people. They want Mark Cuban because he knows this, or they want this guy because he knows that. Is that what you were kind of going for? Or did you necessarily just, I need the cash, I want to build the website, I need someone to help me develop the AI portion of it?
Of course, like strategic investors are always good to have. So we are looking for both. Like 2 years ago, when we started, we raised $2 million. And in that $2 million, besides Berlin Capital, which also, of course, give us a lot of educations on how a VC-backed company grow, what's the pre-seed, C, A, B, C, D run, what's the company structure to look like, how to run the board meetings, etc. But also we got strategic investor, like people who really passionate for sustainability. So people are really good in ESG. People are really have fashion backgrounds. We have company who are manufacturer of Lululemons and Pumas and Adidas who are in our cap tables. We also have people who are, because we are consumer side, we sell to corporate as employee gift and purse. So we partner with the third largest women's rental company, Armor. So we sell to corporate as a gift. So we have people who are HR executive, so they know how to navigate when working with HR, making us employee perks. We also have people who are really good in AI space, because AI is evolving so fast, and so we need people who keep constantly giving us those ideas and trends. And so I think in this early stage of startup, almost you need everything. So we see people in accounting, finance helping us out. We see people in engineering helping us out. What we do is we constantly ask. We put them in a WhatsApp channel. Whenever we need something, we are hiring, and then we put in the chat. I tell Ms. Ward, it's a Mother's Day sale, and we put in the chat. I hey, this is Mother's Day sale. So we ask the team to help.
Okay. No, that's a really interesting idea. And I wonder too, if you could talk a little bit just about having to execute at high levels like this. So you mentioned, needing to 5X, 10X, 50X, your company, and I think to your point in the conversation or the notes that you made about, not every business needs to be this way. But I think, we haven't had a lot of people on with startups that are basically targeting that kind of growth like you're talking about. So I think it might be interesting to talk about, and maybe you don't have full expertise, but maybe you understand both sides enough that you can talk about, what it's like in a rapidly scaling company like this from an execution standpoint versus, maybe a smaller business that's not meant to execute at this level.
I think the key difference is that you are expect to grow really fast. Like we grow 10 times in the last year and a half, and we are expect to grow another 3x by early next year. And our goal is to make 200 million revenue in 5 years. And so in order to achieve this means multiple things. Number one means you need capital. So either you need to quickly get profitable, but also you need external capital. Most of the time, it's not like one round of funding is enough, which means that first of all, you have to raise the first round, and that's already hard enough. And then you have to continue to show your tractions, and then you have to raise again and maybe again and again for multiple times. So are you someone who are willing and asking for investor, which you might have to talk to 200 people and 198 will say no to you? Like, are you someone who actually enjoying doing so? Or if not enjoying, at least you are capable and wanting to do so. And you might have to repeat the same thing 10 times per day and then get rejected. And then you might have to also have to make really quick hiring, but also figure out if it's right fit, and then have to probably make sure you make adjustment for the company. You're constantly are trying to see how you can grow really fast, and versus organically, you need to have advertising in, but then at the same time, you want to optimizing really fast, and you need a lot of partner. We already have 300 brands. We're constantly looking for new partner. We are expanding into shoes, accessories. So I think it's a very different from a lifestyle business. Some people want to work on the business for 20 years, but it can be lifestyle. They do have a little bit work-life balance, and they also can make 100% decision for the company. They don't have to report to the investors, and they don't have to do a lot of things on preparing for those board meetings, etc. So I think it's just very different, and we started without knowing, and I'm still enjoying it, but I'm sure it's not for everybody.
So what is your end goal with Taylor? Are you trying to just generate a business that you have the passive income coming later on down the line, or are you building it to sell?
I think it's a little bit less about what I want. It's now a little bit more about what kind of company you should be after VC back. Because for VC back company, which we are also pretty open to, but for VC back company, the expectation is you exit within 5 to 7 years, and you get 10x to 50x return for them. So that's kind of the expectation. Of course, not every startup meet the expectation, and that's why VC back, and sometimes they are looking for like 10 company. As long as 2 company made it, they are okay, because the other 8 may not make it. But the moment they invest is because they believe you have a chance to be that kind of company. And the 5 to 7 years exit, it tend to be either you get bought, which is mostly common in the US, you get bought by others company, like in our case, maybe for Amazon, who also have logistic capability, Uber, who are share economy, or company who owns inventory, like Gaps, or clothing companies, department stores and malls, or discount stores, the company who own inventory, so they can operate a little bit cheaper than us, or the company really good in operation, so they can operate better than us. Those are our potential buyer. Or company who really want AI styling technology like LVMH or Lululemon or Nike. They may not want to do rental, but they can use the AI styling element to improve their companies. So usually these, once you are VC back, they expect you to exit 5 to 7 years, and most of people will end up sell the company. Small amount of them when go public, but that's usually the expectation. But of course, some people become just profitable business and continue running. They share the bonus to the investors, but most of people end up sell the company in a period of time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So can you talk a little bit about just also, again, or sort of operationally, as you're raising money and things like that, where do you spend this capital that you're raising? So, I mean, obviously some of it's in people and some of it's in websites and things like that, but how does your spend look? So like for you and for Taylor specifically, when you're raising $1 million in capital or $2 million in capital, where is that money going in order to sort of, I guess, pour fuel on the company sufficient to scale at the rate you're talking about?
Yeah, so back to kind of original goal when you are raising, just like in the corporate, when you ask for budget, you must have a goal. Say, okay, if we have this amount of budget next year, we will make this amount of money. So, for example, in our current stage, we realize that our customers really love to buy something. After the 5 out of item go out, 1 or 2 get sold. When you get sold, we get very, very high margins, and people tend to, items still pretty new, only renting 3 times it gets sold. And number one feedback from the customer is that sell me more stuff. Shoes, accessories, belts, like one-stop shop. It's convenient. I don't want to go other places. And help me. You are my executive assistant. You shouldn't only ordering lunch. You should do a lot more things. So just like Taylor, you shouldn't only rent clothes to me. You should also help me to get ready for my shoes, accessory, other stuff. So number one, for where we are, for example, we are raising in order to adding more different categories, increase margin, increase the average revenue per customer per month. So that's one. Or in our case, we are also continue investing in AI. So AI is growing so fast. We continue needing more support to match the demand. We, besides doing AI styling, but we also using AI for a lot of other internal productivity and other stuff. But also AI styling itself, we now are mostly for stylists to use it, but we can also open up for customer to use it, or licensing the technology out to company like LVMH for them to be able to use our technology as a licensing business model, as an additional revenue stream on the B2B side. Given that 300 brands are on our platform, and they all are looking for technology solution, and they are mostly fashion company who don't know technology very well. Oppositely, we are tech company here in Silicon Valley. Or lastly, for example, we are continue doing marketing and growth. We found that it has been great synergy with dating sites, matchmaking company. Single guy want to look great, but cutting those deals need business development person. We also found corporate really want to buy this as an employee give and per. But again, going to sell those deals, you need person, salespeople, reach out, follow up, and then project management of the process, and getting the deal signed and onboarding client. So we are also hiring and fundraising in order to continue investing in the area.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that. So I guess as we're starting to get to the end here, I wanted to just, I guess, maybe talk about a couple maybe more personal things or things to do with you in particular. I mean, obviously, you seem like a person who's very driven, very interested in sort of creating opportunities on your own. You took a very brave step in leaving your home country and your family and everybody else and coming to another country to try and make your way. Would you describe yourself as always having been kind of entrepreneurial? Were there people in your life that sort of maybe empowered you to feel like this, or was that something that just kind of came out of your education or came through opportunity?
I actually didn't know that I can be entrepreneur until 3 years ago. I grew up in a humble home. I have no one in my family relatively ever be an entrepreneur. So I always believe that entrepreneur are for people who are rich and have nothing to do, have time and have money. So, but somehow then in the last 15 years, I always found myself in a 0 to 1 department of big companies, launch Facebook, Instagram shopping, launch Facebook connectivity in Africa where people don't have internet, launch McDonald's food delivery when Uber Eats just started, launch a Target office in Silicon Valley. I just somehow naturally, I love those chaotic of 0 to 1 team. I like the ownerships. I like building something from scratch, and I like setting goals. And I just didn't know that I can be a founder. So I sometimes after I became founder, I realized I'm home, and I actually I'm supposed to be here. And looking back from my career or school life back in Taiwan, I was the troublemaker. But looking back, it probably means I actually am a founder. I just didn't know. So I think that one thing I would tell people is that if you are not sure if you want to be a founder or something, just be curious. At least for my education back in Asia, people teach us about knowing about what and knowing about how. Those were most important. AI is important, is the what. How is figure out how AI works. But I think so for now I'm teaching at Northwestern University, and the school actually most of faculty teaches students about why. Figure out the why, asking the why. And the curiosity actually will bring something and spark the idea and turn out to be even more helpful later in the journey. So just open-minded and learn about why, meet with people who not from your comfort zone, not from the same group of the same people in your community today. And you might find out something that's very interesting, and the best idea are from those things when you are not looking for.
Love it. Well, we're kind of at that time. Do you want to tell people where they can reach out if they're interested in your product or if they want to reach out to you directly?
Yeah, so people can, if you want to try something to look great and without doing laundry, go to Taelor.style. That's TAELOR.STYLE, Taelor.style. Use the code podcast25, PODCAST 25. You get 25% off first month. And if you just want to connect with us, be our vendor and amazing brands or our partner to gym, fitness center, or schools, or dating sites, and you can reach out to me at Anya, that's ANYA, at Taelor.ai, TAELOR.ai. And check out our website, and I would look forward to working with you.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anya. This has been awesome. Thanks for taking the time to visit with us.
Yeah, wonderful. This is Anya Cheng from Taelor.style.
Awesome. And thanks so much to everybody who tunes into the podcast this week and every week. And we'll see you guys next time.